Okay guys, this is a African-inspired pot from Woodturning magazine. That's the UK Woodturning magazine. I just want to apologize right now for the cruddy camera views because this is my first shot at doing a video and I didn't do such a great job. Anyway, got it spinning, checked, make sure it wasn't going to hit. I'm going to rough it out and then mark it for tenons. And mark it for the top and the bottom, sizing the tenons here. Parting the top from the bottom, not all the way because I'm going to shape it. Took it out from between centers, put it into a chuck, do a little shaping. Looks pretty decent. I'm going to cut off the top, mark it so I can put the bottom back in the chuck later, and now I'm going to work on the top. Here's where the bad camera angle comes in for the rest of the video, and I'm sorry. Okay, just sizing the lid and the tenon on the lid. I had a catch. I have to sand out a little catch, or not sand it out, but cut it off and resize the tenon and therefore the lid a little bit. Working at hollowing it out. There's a nub in the middle here in a bit I'm going to have to get to. A little sanding. I realize there's still a nub. Get underneath it with a scraper. And I'll put a little Dr. Kirk scratch free on it. Give it 3 little lines for some interest. Lid basically done, or at least on the inside. Now we're going to retrue the outside of the bottom. And I'm going to measure here, and face off the front there. I measured the lid tenon, transfer that to the bottom. And then I'm going to drill out the bottom with a spindle gouge. Couldn't find my drill chuck, and I'm doing some basic roughing of that opening. I'm going to fit the lid so I get a really nice tight fit. I use a box scraper a lot of the times to do that kind of a thing, just because I can take a little bit off at a time, but you can use whatever you want. Big thing is to make sure that the shoulder of that is, parallel, just like on the tenon. I just about got it here. Got it to fit. Bring up the tailstock. Didn't like the way it was fitting, so anyway, reposition it, brought up the tailstock. Shaping the bottom to fit the top. Here in a second I'm going to sand it out. You'll see that the line between the top and the bottom almost disappears. Did a pretty good job. It's luck, really, more than anything else. And I mark the joint between the two of them with a pencil so I can see it, because I want to start beating it from the joint. Put a few beads in, then I got to clean up what's up here on the top. Add a little detail and a bead at the top, and then I'm going to beat it the rest of the way into that. By the way, to do my beading, I'm using a D-way, I think it's an 1/8 inch beater tool. It's a nice easy way to get consistent beads. I got lucky here. The last bead ends up almost right up underneath that detail. I got lucky. And I'm beading the bottom, going all the way down as far as I can go within the chuck and everything else. Once I get it all beaded, then you got to come back and sand in between the beads a little bit, just to kind of get rid of little pieces of wood that are kind of sticking out. Probably wouldn't have to do it, but I think it helps it a little bit. And I'm going to put a little Dr. Kirk scratch free on the outside just to kind of polish it a little bit. First you apply it, then you kind of run over it, kind of get it to sand it a little bit. There's some abrasive in there. And then buff it off with a paper towel. That actually might be a rag. Probably shouldn't use a rag. Paper towel's better. There's the paper towel. Looks pretty nice. I'm going to go ahead and take the little top off the bead on the top. Pull the tailstock away, then I didn't feel comfortable with it, and I put it back so I could get that last little bit off. Broke free right there, and then I can take some really light cuts here. Sand the top a little Dr. Kirk's, and the outside's basically done. More bad camera angles coming up. Here we're gonna start hollowing out the center. I used a carbide tip tool, Mike Chakowski tool that Mike Hunter makes. I find it works really well for a lot of things. Easy to control. Gives a pretty reasonable finish on the inside. Measuring the sidewalls periodically, also using my finger just to see if I like the transitions and whatnot. Sand in the front there, I had put some scratches on the front and I needed to get rid of them from tenon. I'm also sanding on the inside with a pair of bent needle nose pliers, a little Dr. Kirk's on the inside, and then paper towel to buff it out. Check the lid fit, looks pretty good. Now I need to measure the bottom, find out how much I have left, or how much wood's left, and right here you'll see me point out where the actual bottom is, right about there. Anyway, I was going to reverse it. I had a thought and didn't like my thought, so I ended up just chucking up a waste piece of wood that I had. And I'm going to finish shaping the bottom here. The idea here is when I get done getting it shaped, I'm going to beat it down to where I think the bottom should be, and then I'm going to cut the bottom at the bottom of that last bead so that I didn't have to measure it or get lucky like I did on the top. A little sanding, a little Dr. Kirk's, some buffing, and then it's done.